the night. I am Batman!
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. So, in 2009, DC Comics released a series called Wednesday Comics. Now, Wednesday Comics was done in newspaper sized, and it had 20 stories, but each one was one page. So it came out each week for 12 weeks, and you would have a complete story after you got all 12 issues. Again, each one was only a page. So we're going to be looking at the Batman stories from Wednesday Comics. This story was done by Brian Azzarello with Eduardo Risso. Now, these two make beautiful comics together. Azzarello and Risso partnered up in a lot of stuff. Most famous is 100 Bullets. But these two have done a lot of projects together. And Eduardo Risso is one of my favorite artists. He is a beautiful ink slinger. I really enjoy his stuff. So, without further ado, Batman from Wednesday Comics. And so we start out with this clock here approaching most likely midnight. And so we see these eyes here and the bat signal. And it says here, every time I turn this on, it's like I'm signaling failure. And here we have Batman and Commissioner Gordon on top of the police building. Gotham City is, they have beautiful architecture because it's so gothic. And I really miss these old buildings in our most downtowns are getting rid of them and putting it new stuff. And anyway, Batman is on top of the signal saying, I wonder how I should take that. And Gordon says, I know how you do, believe me. And then here you can see that clock here. And so Gordon says, earlier today, Franklin Glass was kidnapped. And Batman says, the Franklin Glass? The investment banking Glass? And Gordon says his kidnappers left a note. They said he'd be murdered at midnight. And Batman asks, where are you dropping the ransom? And so the clock keeps moving. And Gordon says, they didn't ask for one, as he takes off his glasses. The mayor, we put the entire force on alert, looked everywhere, and found nothing. That's why all of a sudden you hear the bong, bong, bong from the bell tower. And Batman goes, but it's, and he says, I know, as it continues. And here we see these guys. There's Franklin Glass, and they are going to. Oh, what a horrible way to die! I'm telling you. I'm not saying that there's a good way to die, but there are some ways to die that I just are horrible. And this is what asphyxiation, which includes drowning, holding your breath, anything. That is a terrible way to go, and I think getting burned alive is a terrible way to go. I want it quick. I don't want to suffer. So this has got to be terrible. So page or issue number 2. Remember, each one was one page, and Batman was the one that started the each one. So the first adventure was a Batman adventure, and this is more of a Sunday comics feel. So that's what DC was going for. It is actually a really cool idea, and they should do it again. So, all right, part 2. And so we see this funeral here. And accept Franklin Glass into your kingdom. Amen. And so you see these mausoleums here. The wealthy always turn out, don't we, Bruce, when one of our own is buried. So this would be Bruce Wayne here. And this lady here says, I think we need to see that the poor bastard in the coffin hasn't figured out a way to take his money with him. And Batman asks, how are you, Jessica? And she says, still above ground. Nasty business about Franklin, isn't it? And you can see he's looking elsewhere. And he says, yes, it is a sad day. If you have a conscience, I suppose it is. If you don't, and you can see here that this lady here, we can't see her face, is talking to this guy. We assume this is most likely a lawyer here. This could be a mistress, a daughter, a wife. And so it continues here. You bury your husband. It kills me. A girl that young would fall for a man as old as Franklin, says Bruce Wayne. Looking at her, him, I get. But what was she thinking? And the lady here says, Bruce. And I love just, oh my God. Eduardo Risso is so good. A woman like that only has one thing on her mind. Again, we still don't see her here. And this is reflecting off. But here you can see there is a gun. So someone is preparing to shoot here. So, and Bruce sees it. And suddenly, this guy, you can see the shadows coming. You can see the bam from the gun. You can see it hits the paper. The gunman is gone. And Bruce lands on her and says, Mrs. Glass R. And then she kisses him. You saved my life. So Eduardo Risso is like Frank Miller. A lot of black, but he doesn't silhouette everything. It's just, he is a very Frank Millerish, but he's a better draftsman than Frank Miller is. He is a better drawer, a better cartoonist. This dude is awesome. He does beautiful stuff. So, all right, part 3. And so Batman is listening in here. And so we continue here. You won't see a penny of my father's money, I promise you. And she says, so it looks like it's a brother or the son and then the new wife here. Really, your father's, my husband will, your father's, my husband's, will promise I get every cent, Carlton. It does, which was quite surprised to me and the family lawyer. How did you make him change the will, Luna? And she says, by making him happy. And I really wish that they sometimes would change the color when two people are talking, so that you can tell that it's different here. But didn't he leave that money on the dresser? And so this is awesome. So Batman's listening in, and here you can see there. And so Carlton says, there's too much at stake here for me to back down, even if I have to drag my father's dead body through the mud. And she says, what are you saying? And Carlton says he was senile, suffering from dementia when he altered his will. Batman continues, listening in. I love that. Um, if I have to, I'll go even further. When he took a trophy wife, and then he drinks here. And she says, at least he was man enough to earn one. And then he just, oh man, that is awesome. And so the dogs, all of a sudden you hear a slap, and Batman gets his fist. And then she's like, Luna, and she says, sorry, of course you are. It runs in the family. So, oh man. And so, number 4. And I just love how this just kind of keeps on moving. Um coming up with this on the fly is probably not the way to do it, but this they probably I don't know how they made this work, but it's beautiful. This story is really good, and it has been collected. Um so I don't know if it's still in print though, but if you get a chance, check out this this story, or all of them. There's a Wonder Woman one written by Walter Simonson. Neil Gaiman, I know he's whatever, but Neil Gaiman had a story. I think he had a Metamorpho. So there's a Catwoman story there with I think Ed Brubaker wrote it. So there's quite a few stories. So all right, and so Gotham Lord Hotel, and so it looks like they're meeting for dinner here, and so I hope you haven't been waiting too long, Mr. Wayne. And he says, it's Bruce, Mrs. Glass, and I was here on time. I have it. And he's helping her take off her coat. He says, a man's man have it, according to my departed husband. Though Franklin tended to be early, unfortunately, he never kept me waiting. And so Bruce is helping us sit down. I love In the Shadow. About Mr. Glass, I'd have to say his murder and the attempt on your life has made me a bit nervous. And she says, you don't look it. And so you can see Bruce is about to sit down here. And he says, well, what is it they say about looks? And she says, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And Bruce Wayne says, or skin deep. And she says, mine runs thick. And he says, I imagine it does. Now, keep in mind, he's pouring her drink, and it's been established that he does not drink. So, and so I don't think you'll ever, I don't know, I don't think they'll show you him actually taking a sip of anything. But anyway, and so she says here, so it's your imagination that invited me to lunch? And Bruce says, you've aroused some curiosity in me, I'll be honest. And she says, then though it's against my nature, so shall I. And you can see she's about to start drinking. There's no one who wanted Franklin dead more than me. And she says, he was old, sadly getting older, and despite his early times, he had gotten slow. It hurt me to see a great man like that. I try to look out for him, but his son, and he says, Carlton? Yes, Carlton, has been after Franklin's estate for years. He'll get it over my dead body. And he says, I'd hate to see that. And she says, it would be a waste, wouldn't it? He says, a key. I have a room here. And she smiles. I suppose life's too short not to be direct, isn't it? And she takes it. Don't be late. And do call me Luna. Oh, Batman, so sly. And so, all right, number 5. And so we move on. And so we get here, he's in the Batcave. And he says, "What have you got for me, Alfred?" And he says, "Hairspray." And he's puzzled. Set to lipstick, it removes the stains. Almost. And so this is a beautiful here as we have the entire Batcave and the panels are going around them. Just beautiful composition here. Um, so Batman says, "I wasn't talking about my personal life." And Alfred says, "Oh, excuse me then. I didn't realize you had any other." And so here, Alfred kind of peeks around Batman's shoulder. Carlton Glass is a gambler, and like most, a bad one. I believe that's Alfred speaking, but that almost sounds like something Batman will say, but it is Alfred here. And Alfred says he owes a lot of money, six figures monies, to just about every book in Gotham. And Batman says, "That's my motive. And this is my muscle," to this guy here. Hardy Stone. He's the man who tried to murder Luna at her husband's funeral. A punk, ex-boxer, puncher. Actually showed promise early on, but uh, Alfred says, "Lost focus," he asks. And Batman agrees. Mm-hmm. And Alfred says, "It's best." Oh, sorry. "It seems even the best men don't recognize a knockout, do they, Master Bruce?" And he puts on his cowl and says, "I do." Or his mask. And Alfred says, "If you took the mask off, could you tell me the same?" And this is a wonderful, as Batman is walking. I'd love to see when the heroes are walking and not just standing. That this is a wonderful, wonderful image right here. Oh my goodness. If you guys have never seen Eduardo Risso, I recommend, well, everything that he's ever done. Everything. For Marvel, he doesn't have a lot of stuff, but he does have a tangled web of Spider-Man that he wrote or that he drew, a Greg Rucka story with the Kingpin, and it's just awesome. Everything that this guy draws is beautiful, and Azzarello is an incredible writer. So I always have a blast looking at their stuff here. So all right, here we go. So we are in part 6 now. So we're halfway through. So, all right. And so this guy's listening to the radio here. That concludes tonight's broadcast of Gotham Metropolitan Opera. Join us next week for a performance of Puccini's Madama Butter. And so he turns off the TV and you can see the boxing championship. He was watching a boxing match and he's drinking here, and love this. Again, the shadows is really good. He hears this scritz, and then sees the gun here, picks up the gun, goes outside to look, goes to look. This is what I mean, very Frank Miller-ish. And so Hardy Stone asks Batman, and he jumps through the window here, knock him out. He goes through the table, falls down. You can see the cards here in Batman. He points the gun at Batman. Batman just stares at him, and suddenly, bam, as he shoots the gun. So, number 7. My goodness, who knew one-page stories could be so good? So Batman has this guy hanging out, and he's like, "You got nothing on me." And Batman says, "I have a witness, a big shot in Gotham, saw you fire that gun at Luna Glass." And then Batman says, "No, wait. That plus the kidnapping and actual murder, you won't spend much time in prison at all before you get a chair." And he says, "I didn't kill nobody." And Batman takes the cigarette out, and he says, "Somebody did. I need a name, Hardy." and then he's going to look at this. He's going to show that he's willing to burn him. Who were you working for? Tell me who he is, and I'll leave you to Gotham's finest. And let's see here. Which way am I? Oh my goodness. Um, Hold on a second. I think I may have screwed up on this page. I think we went this way, and then this way. So that is my bad, guys. I just automatically went this way. So when he does that, Batman had pretended. Let's see here. Um, let's see here. So he has him here. Then we go here. That was just, and then a glass is going to fall on his neck, but Batman catches it. And then he says, attempted murder, put you behind bars for a long time. And there we go. So that gets us there. So my bad, guys. I apologize here. So again, we go here, Batman attempting to burn his retina. You realize that would be good for you, right? Carlton, he says. And so Carlton Glass, as Batman throws him, for your own good to stay out till you're ready to settle your marker. And so this was most likely not Batman throwing him, sorry. This would be Carlton here. And so he picks himself up and he's like, And he goes, come here to gloat. And so we see the dogs. No. Bam. So we have to assume that this is the wife here. And so she is killing him. And because these were her dogs. So, all right, number 8. And so, beautiful. Oh, I'm telling you, Eduardo Risso is a heck of an artist here. So we've got this big panel here of a Gotham City alleyway here. And we got a newspaper here. Looks like it's Gordon here. It's tough when we don't get it right. I know. And so Stone Cold Killer in custody. So this is the guy from before, it looks like it. But more so for me than you don't have to answer to anyone. Me? And so here we see the headline here. Glass air shattered outside gambling den. I'll spend tomorrow answering for you. And Batman says, if you'd like, Commissioner, I'll. And Gordon interrupts and he says, what I'd like, I'm sorry, but we couldn't keep Hardy Stone in custody. The bail, it was high and met. We don't know by who. And of course, we do. Do you? Gordon asked. And so at the pier here, what a place to go. Luna, baby, I knew you'd get me out. And she says, you should never have been in. And he says, relax. I told the bat it was Carlton I was working for. I think he. And so he says, I gave him the name he wanted. Now, give me some sugar. And of course, we can see Batman's cape in here. But of all places, at the dock, for God's sakes. And so, Hardy, not now, baby. Come on, Luna. No means yes, right? And so we see Batman grab wrong and then pulls him out. This is awesome. And tosses him. And then Batman gets there and Hardy hits and hits him. He says, nice to see you bleed too. And suddenly, bam, bam. And she kills Hardy. And you can see that. Hardy, you're going to have to make peace. And he says, don't, go easy. That's all I ask, Luna. I love her. Very Sin City-ish, always. It's always the femme fatale. Oh, my goodness. They get away with everything. And so, number 10, here, 3 to go. Mrs. Glass, give yourself up. And so, we see the Batmobile at her mansion here. I already did that, Batman. Look at all it got me. And so we got another nice big panel here, and Batman's going up the stairs. The police, they're right behind, and so we see the dogs here, and they attack Batman here. And so he tosses this one here, and Batman grabs the other one, and it does look like Batman killed the dog. And she's like, oh crap. And so we see that he did not. So then we get to see that the dogs just got whipped here. And so we're number 11 here. You murdered your husband, says Batman. And she says, I was tired, anxious, waiting for Franklin to die. And she says, you faked an attempt on your own life to make it seem like his son was responsible. And she says, something Carlton never was in his life. And she says, his death, he threatened me. That's the thing about men. They play unfair with the fairer sex if their true love, money, is concerned. And she says, Hardy Stone loved you. And she says, lusted me, and I couldn't risk him running his tongue. And so she gets the lipstick on here. So you bailed him out to silence him, Mrs. Glass? And she says, my, you do have me all figured out, and please. And so you can see her taking out the gun here. Call me Luna. She begins to cry, and she fires, and suddenly it shatters. And she, the window most likely, and she jumps out. And so we get to the last page here, and we see that she went out the window, and the police show up, always late. And Batman says, this isn't how it was supposed to end. And she says, it hurts when a man like you doesn't have the final word, doesn't it? And Batman says, that's not what I meant. And she says, yes, it is. Don't kid yourself. You're not a bat. You should have seen me locked away, paying for my crimes. In time, I might have even been sorry. That was your ending. No, she says, me rotting away in prison. Can you imagine? And Batman says, it would be a waste, wouldn't it, Luna? And she touches him, and then she realizes that it's Bruce Wayne. And she goes, Bruce. And then Gordon tells the police to stop, and he just kisses her to get her to be quiet. And she dies. And it's over. This is an incredible one and done. I mean, it's really one issue. It's amazing. It's just good. So this is a really good story. So I hope you guys liked it. So it's the Batman story from Wednesday Comics from 2009, written by Brian Azzarello and drawn by the wonderful Eduardo Risso. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.